Hello.
Hello.
My name is Madison.
Hello, my name is Rayanne. Nice to meet you. You can call me Ray.
Okay, Ray. Well, my name's Madison again, so I'm really happy to have you in today. I do have a few things that I need to go over before we can get started.
Okay.
So the first thing is that you do have the right to know that I am currently a student at Southeastern University in their counseling program. So I am currently practicing under the supervision of Dr. Terry Mortensen. And the second thing that I need to go over before we can begin is confidentiality. So you do have the right to know that anything that's said during therapy with me stays between me, you, and my supervisor, Dr. Mortensen. And the information will not be shared with anyone without your consent unless you discuss harming yourself or someone else, or unless I'm court ordered to release that information.
Okay.
Okay, so do you have any questions before we start?
No.
Okay, so what brings you in today?
Well, a little bit of background is, I'm 25 years old. When I was 21, my husband was killed in Afghanistan, and because of that, I developed PTSD. I was diagnosed with depression when I was 13, so that coupled with then losing him and the traumatic experience it was, they diagnosed me with PTSD about 2 years ago. So I'm just here to try and I guess just discuss on how to cope with it and see if there's anything I can do to make living with it just a little bit easier.
Okay, so you're really just trying to find a way to deal with the symptoms and the feelings and the emotions that you experience because of your PTSD.
Yes.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit more about the things that you're experiencing?
Not so much now, but in the very beginning, one of my big things was avoidance. I still do it, but not as often as I used to. For quite a while, I wouldn't go out, and I wouldn't do any things that I used to enjoy doing when he was alive. So I don't know, it almost felt like I was doing it without him. So I decided I wasn't going to do it, and it made me too upset. But now it's a little bit better. I can go out and I can socialize, but sometimes I do get really bad anxiety, or something triggers my anxiety and I have panic attacks, so I have to leave. So it's kind of hard, but I'm doing okay with that. Emotionally, I think is one of my tougher areas. It's like I said, the depression, which I already had. And I get really irritable, like over really little shit that's really stupid. Like I got mad at my boyfriend for leaving the ketchup out when we had dinner, and it's ketchup, but I acted like he had, killed my dog. Like it was awful. So there's that. And that also, I have a temper now because of it as well. It's just little things get to me. And I know I shouldn't. Like in my mind, I'm like, oh, you're being dumb. Don't get mad. And then I get mad. But there's that. And then for my flashbacks, it's not, I guess for me, it's not how I envision flashbacks. Like when you hear somebody's like having a flashback, they're picturing it in their mind all over again. For me, it's more of feelings. So I'll see something that reminds me of him, and I get upset. I don't necessarily see everything playing out again. It does happen, but not as often. It's more or less feelings about it.
Okay, so it's really just an emotionally based symptomology for the PTSD, and all of the things that you're experiencing are mainly some anger and the avoidance, and then you do have some irritability and some frustration. In your current relationship. Are there any other symptoms that you feel like you've been having some issues with?
Well, there is of course there's the insomnia and the I do get physical symptoms, and I know a lot of it's when I don't get a lot of sleep. It makes it worse. Because I'll get the headaches and I'll get nauseous, and a lot of the times I don't know whether or not I'm sick or I'm just really, really upset that day and just not realizing it. And sometimes it's hard to explain to people as well when they don't understand you have PTSD or what it's all about. And you tell them, oh, I don't want to go out today. I'm going to stay home. They automatically think like you're you're in your bed crying, not wanting to leave because of that. But a lot of the times it's just because I'm nauseous or I have a headache. So I just tell people I'm sick. No, I don't feel good. I'm sick. But when in reality, I know that I'm just upset. And sometimes I know and sometimes I don't. So it's sometimes hard to see what's really happening in my body, if I am sick or if it's just a symptom.
Okay.
So it's hard.
Understand. So it feels kind of like sometimes you're making some of these symptoms happen.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like you mentioned with the insomnia and not being able to sleep, that can cause the headaches later on and things like that. Okay. Yeah. And then are you also finding that it's hard to relate to some people or to have people that understand what you're going through?
Yes. A lot of people, when they think of a widow, they don't think of somebody who's in their 20s. It's, I hate to say it, but the stereotypical, like, oh, the widow is, this little old lady who lives by herself, and it's not like that. So when I'm telling people my age who are and because I got married young, I'm telling people my age that now I'm a widow, and they haven't even got married yet, they're like, okay, they don't know how to react. So sometimes it's hard to relate to people.
Okay.
And especially when you're having a panic attack or you're just like, I gotta get out of here, because I get like that sometimes. People don't understand. They're like, oh, she's just being hurt. But it can get frustrating trying to, especially making new relationships with people, friends, work, school, and what have you.
Okay, so that can be very frustrating for you, and that
Yeah.
can probably cause, I'm sure, the onset of some of the other symptoms that you already experience when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So it kind of brings in some more of that isolation and the, like you mentioned, the panic attacks and some of that anxiety as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's getting easier, but it still causes rifts, and it still causes me to be almost extra guarded, I guess you could say, around newer people, or if I'm in a large group setting, things like that. So, that.
Okay. Have you ever undergone any type of treatment in the past for any of the symptoms that you've described?
I did. At first I didn't know I had PTSD. I was never tested for it. I think it was like 6 months after my husband died, I decided to go to therapy. And I saw a couple different therapists and a couple different psychiatrists who would try to get me, on antidepressants and anti-anxiety and things like that. And a lot of the antidepressants didn't work. I found it made me either like a zombie, where I was just kind of going through the motions. I didn't feel anything, or I would just be more irritable. So that was a couple of the problems I had with the the antidepressant medication. And it wasn't until, like I said, about 2 years ago, when I saw one therapist who decided to have me do a couple different little tests, and that's when she pointed out to me that I did have PTSD, or what she believed I had was PTSD. We did EMDR with the lights, and I had the headphones on, and then we did this other exercise, I guess you can call it, where she had a ball and a stick, and I had to kind of follow it and talk about, certain events in my life and kind of figure out where it stems from, or try to work through them as best I can.
Okay. So you didn't really find the medications to be helpful at all, or to really help with your symptoms?
Yeah, it wasn't so much the medication. I had a lot of issues with the medications. A lot of them made me sick. A lot of them, like I said, either made me feel nothing or just angry all the time. So I could never find a happy balance with the antidepressant medication.
Okay, and did you find the EMDR to be helpful?
Yes and no.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be honest, it was a little weird at first.
Understandable.
Trying to follow the light and talk at the same time. It sounds very easy, but when you're trying to keep track and not move your head, it can be a little difficult. But yes, it was, as soon as I kind of got the swing into it.
Okay. And then have you ever undergone any just talk therapy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for about 8 months. I just recently stopped going, but for about the last 8 months, I was just strictly talk therapy, and it did help. I did enjoy going, and it did help, and I just felt like I no longer needed that part, or it wasn't helping anymore to where I wanted it to. Kind of just felt like I was going in and saying hi, and then like I would leave, so I wasn't getting the benefits I had in the beginning.
Okay.
So it's just been difficult to find one program that works.
Understand. So is there any other types of experiences that you've been having that you're having difficulties with, or any other symptoms that you've been experiencing due to the PTSD or to the depression that you were diagnosed with when you were younger?
I think it's been a lot harder with the depression in the beginning, because it was like I already had that, and then as soon as all this happened, it just like times 10, so it got a lot worse. And I was never really, even though I was diagnosed with depression when I was younger, I was never really treated for it. So I felt as soon as I kind of had a handle on that, when I got older, I lost my husband and everything just kind of fell apart after that. I didn't know which way was up and what to, where to go, what to do for anything.
So the loss of your husband exaggerated the
Yeah.
the depression symptoms and the feelings of isolation and things like
Mhm.
that. Okay.
Yeah. So, especially being as young as I was, it was hard because there was nobody. I mean, I had one person to talk to, and she was 61, so she was the only other widow I knew. So it was like, okay, this is awkward.
So you felt that you didn't have that support group and
Yeah.
that way to kind of vent and express what you were going through to anyone else
Yeah.
that would really understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm kind of lucky now that because there are different groups and different organizations that I found strictly for people who have lost loved ones in the military.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a chance to be around people who have gone through the same thing, if not extremely similar losses as I have, and we all get together and kind of, there's widows retreats, and then of course there's grief seminars and things like that where we kind of all get around and talk, and it's nice to be able to go and relate to people my age for a change. It's reassuring, like, okay, cool, I'm not the only one. I'm not like this young child in a sea of all these older widows. It's people my age and people around my group and people like me, so it's nice. It's almost like a refresh.
Okay.
So I get to go do what I need to do and then come home and do it all.
So even in your circle of family and friends, you weren't able to express yourself and have that understanding, so you went out and you found groups and things that can really understand what you're going through and help you with all of the symptoms that you've been experiencing.
Yeah, there was, not that I didn't have a good support system at home, friends, family. It's just, you can only relate to somebody so far.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I could never relate to somebody who's lost a kid or lost a parent because I haven't lost either one yet, thank God. But, I can relate on the loss level. But to be able to go and have people my age who lost their husbands in similar accidents be like, okay, you know what I'm feeling, we can talk, I don't have to explain it to you, I don't have to explain what missing a wedding anniversary or a birthday and stuff like that, so it's nice.
Okay. So is there anything else that you wanted to bring up or talk about that you've experienced? If not, that's okay too.
I guess I just get a little worried about the irritability and the anger and things like that, and that's mostly why I'm here, is just to kind of figure out better ways to maybe cope so much with that, or even have just a better understanding of what I can tell people,
Okay.
in order to make them maybe see a little bit clearer, because with PTSD my memory is awful. So it's hard to, I'll have the words I want to say to somebody and then immediately it'll be gone.
Okay.
So just maybe better ways to express, like, okay, I'm having a moment and I need you to back off,
Okay.
instead of me snapping on them. And
Okay. So if I can go ahead and just summarize what we've kind of gone through and discussed today. It seems that you have been experiencing a lot of aversion and some isolation and even some anxiety and depression since the sudden passing of your husband approximately 5 years ago.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's really caused some anger and some irritability and some frustration. And it seems that you've been having some problems with really relating to people your own age especially, but
Yeah.
you did find some of those support groups and things like that, which is really great. And that you're really just looking for a way to kind of deal with the symptoms and the stress and the anger and the kind of outbursts and really just relating to people and being able to have them understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
So does that kind of cover all of the bases?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So then what we'll do is this is a great time for us to go ahead and wrap up for today.
Okay.
But I would be happy to keep working with you on this if you are still interested in doing so afterwards. So we would definitely be able to go ahead and schedule something else. And I
Awesome.
can go ahead and keep working with you.
Perfect.
All right, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thanks for having me.